Stick around to the end for a small announcement. Ah, the Transformers. Whether you're a fan of them or not, it's incredible how strong this series has stood over the years. What started as a Japanese toy series of micro-changers and Diaclone, later imported and rebranded here in the US, has become a pop culture icon here in the States. From toys, to comics, to cartoons, to movies, to more cartoons, to CG gorillas, more comics, video games, more movies, Shia LaBeouf, Frasier? Mark and— Oh god, what is that? Okay, so I used to be ashamed to admit this, but I'm actually a huge Transformers fan. I personally think that the series gets a bad rep today, but I can't exactly blame folks for why they have such a sour taste in their mouth regarding the series. Though it's not all bad. Even today I still find these films at least tolerable, though I'd be humming a different tune if I wasn't allowed to skip certain scenes. The 5 films all have obnoxious humans as their lead roles. I mean, who the hell goes to a Transformers movie to see Shia LaBeouf? I want to see the giant robots fight each other! Yeah! You're a spider! Out of the 5 live-action movies currently, the 3rd one is the closest that comes to being a decent film. And even then, it still has painful moments that could definitely ruin the entire movie for some. Though for me, my favorite part of the movies was when the toys came out, at least up until the 3rd movie. After that, I stopped collecting them. Cause despite how terrible some of these movies can get, I love the design of the live-action Transformers. I do still prefer the blocky design of the previous generations, but I still think that this attempt to establish the Transformers in a realistic environment was a neat attempt, and I thought it was pretty creative. I still have some of my Transformers from when I was younger. These guys have been gathering dust in my closet up until filming this. Maybe I should put these guys out on display, I don't know. Alright, so what we have here is my Transformers Revenge of the Fallen Leader Class Optimus Prime. This thing cost me $50 back in the day. You could get a AAA video game for almost that much today. So, oops. Let's see if I still remember how to do this. Oh god, this is the thing of nightmares. Hello. That's right, you are. Yes, we established that already. Get in the rib. Fuck. Get. Yep. Yeah, I know. Ribcage part 2 is a go. Stop driving. Stop it. Hey, that's starting to look good. Whoa, what's wrong with this? It's him. It is Optimus Prime. I was first introduced to the robots of disguise all the way back in the early 2000s with Transformers Armada on Cartoon Network, a series that, interestingly enough, was a collaboration between Hasbro, the American owners of the Transformers franchise, and Takara, who originally created Battle Convoy in Japan. If you're not aware of the history of the Transformers, the characters we grew to know and love today were originally just toys back in Japan, nothing more. They might have been given a little bit of lore and character, but nothing as drastic as the deep lore we'd later get in the States. There were no Autobots, there were no Decepticons, just toy robots that turned into various household items, and eventually, vehicles. When brought to the States, it was up to Marvel writer Bob Budiansky? I'm really sorry if I'm butchering that, I have no idea how to pronounce that. To give these characters a world, and he did so beautifully. Picking from the diverse selection of these Japanese toys, he gave each of them a new name, assigned them to a faction, and wrote a story about a faraway robot planet locked into a civil war for power between the Autobots and Decepticons. Yeah, that's right, Optimus Prime, the symbol for hope that we know today, was just a toy back then, and this man decided he saw more in him, making him the leader we know today. It's strange, right? To think that these characters that we know so well today, like Optimus, Megatron, Starscream, Bumblebee, they were just toys, and the expansive lore that we got in the movies, games, cartoons, were all created as a way to appeal these shape-shifting robots to kids in the mid-80s, and it worked. After the success of the Marvel comic, Hasbro then later started production on a cartoon series starring the Transformers. This series lasted 6 years from 1984 to 1990, and that was just Generation 1, arguably the most popular time frame in Transformers history. Now the G1 series has not aged as well as people think. Now load me! Please never say that to me ever again. Let me put it like this, the only enjoyable seasons of the show in my opinion were the first 2 seasons, but then it ran for an additional 2 seasons before eventually getting cancelled. But even then, every episode was basically the same. There was no real underlying plot, only a few characters actually got character arcs. The Decepticons do something bad, Autobots come to stop them, Megatron hits Starscream a few times even though he kinda deserved it. The human characters would always get into some kind of trouble, get saved, Soundwave sits there, looks cool, Decepticons get defeated, Megatron retreats, bada bing bada boom, roll credits. Okay, I know it sounds like I'm getting a little bit off track, because I know that you're here to listen to me talk about a certain terrible video game. this certain terrible video game. But this game does something very strange that you kind of need to know the context to fully understand. Who just messaged me? Then in 1986, Transformers the movie happened, or The Transformers the movie. That's a mouthful. And showed, hey, we could actually make a decent story with these action figures. The movie did something that the cartoons never really thought to do, make us actually feel something. Megatron and the Decepticons slaughter iconic Autobots that children grew up loving. And this was in the beginning of the film. Within the first half hour of the movie, Megatron kills Optimus. Actually, almost everyone in the original cast dies in this film. We got introduced to a whole new cast of Autobots and Decepticons designed by Hasbro instead of Takara, with their animated designs being created before the toys, giving them a really unique look that isn't exactly trying to sell you toys, although it most definitely is, but it breathed new life into these characters. Gone were Optimus and Megatron, now rise Rodimus Prime and Galvatron. Yeah, this didn't really sit well in the following seasons of the show. In the movie, it was fine because these characters got decent arcs and were delivered with really well done performances. With Optimus being killed off rather early into the film and passing on the Matrix of Leadership, an all-powerful plot MacGuffin that can only be used by those it considers worthy, think the Infinity Stones crossed with the whole worthiness gimmick of Thor's hammer? It also makes lightsaber noises. Anyway, he passed it down to Ultra Magnus, he's a new guy. Don't doze off yet, this will be important later. Later, when Ultra Magnus tries to use this against Megatron, it decides that Ultra Magnus, hey, he's not worthy enough to open the Matrix, and he's promptly killed by Galvatron. Galvatron is Megatron, by the way, he gets like reborn, it's complicated. Galvatron wants the Matrix as a way to defeat Unicron, a transformer that turns into a goddamn planet, and in later lore is actually established to be the Transformers equivalent to Satan. In the climax of the film, the small Autobot named Hot Rod grabs the Matrix off of Galvatron's chest before being strangled, and in that moment, the Matrix chooses him. The voice of the late Optimus Prime gives him the title of Rodimus Prime, a play on Hot Rod and Optimus Prime, to where he lights our darkest hour. And that's it. That's the Transformers the movie. A pretty simple plot about passing the torch to the next generation, and even though the next generation wasn't really as well received, the movie remains iconic with Transformers fans like myself. Now, with every great movie, there's bound to be a video game tie-in. We see that everywhere today, and even back in the 80s with some lazy movie license game that only rides off the popularity of the source material to sell units and delivers a half-assed game. And Transformers the movie was no exception with the 1986 release of Tatakae Cho Roboto
Tatakae Cho Roboto Seimeitai Transformer Convoy No Nazo.
Yeah, that sounds right. Regardless, the title translates to Transformers, the Mystery of Optimus Prime, which I will continue to call MOOP for the rest of this video. Booting up the game right away, I was wondering why they didn't use the Transformers theme at all for the title screen. The first 5 notes in it are used for whenever you start a new stage, but not the title screen. But after doing some research, I discovered that this is actually the theme of the Japanese-only Super Robot Lifeform Transformers 2010 opening. Oh, I'm winded after that. Yeah, I'm about as confused as you are, but what's more confusing is the scenario that this game starts in. First off, you play as Ultra Magnus, a character introduced in the 80s film. So using that as our foundation, we can say, what's the fucking mystery of Optimus Prime? You saw him die right in front of you. But Trav, how does it play? Who cares if it doesn't tie into the movie very well, as long as it's fun, right? Well, spoiler alert, it's not good. The demo that plays when you wait on the title screen for too long doesn't even care. It just runs forward and shooting until he dies. Well, maybe the demo sucks, you know. Let's take a spin for ourselves. Oh. Okay, yeah, there's momentum physics. Okay, you know how in Super Mario Bros. On the NES, Mario has a little bit of weight to him? Like when you stop holding right, Mario kind of slides a little bit. That works in Mario platforming. Enemies are slow moving and you could use Mario's momentum to jump to higher places. This makes secrets feel more rewarding and gives you a sense of skill. And on top of that, your method of killing enemies is to jump on them, unlike this game where you fire bullets just a couple of pixels wide onto these enemies that are just a few more pixels taller. Oh, and of course you die in a single shot. Okay, so a lot of games from this era were like this, where you get shot once and that's it, you die. And that's not inherently bad. I mean, look at Contra, that was one of the most memorable games from this era. But what is it that Contra gets right that MOOP doesn't? Well, honestly, everything. While Contra was very slow moving, had enemies with large hitboxes, tight controls, and diverse weapons, allowing you enough time to react to any given situation, MOOP has the complete opposite of that. Most of the enemies are just a few pixels tall, your bullets are even smaller, and not only that, because of your speed, you will constantly get blindsided. And I'm like 90% sure that these enemies spawn at random. I mean, look at this. I died in this area and I come back and the enemy pattern is almost completely different. And Okay, we're at the boss already. And who is that? That's just a planet. There's only one Decepticon planet that I know of, and that sure as hell is not Unicron. Okay, so I'm not gonna show it, but every time you beat a boss or start a new game or whatever, the screen will flash red, blue, and pink. I'll show pictures of it on the screen. I'm not gonna show it out of fear of triggering an epileptic seizure in someone. I don't entirely know how it works, so I'm just not gonna show it at all. And I'm not gonna show it for the rest of this video. Let's just add this into the cons column real quick. Might kill you. There we go. Oh, you know what else might kill you is this goddamn soundtrack.
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
This track plays through every goddamn stage in this game. It's only 10 seconds long, and it plays on loop until you either die or get to a boss. The boss theme is probably the least offensive track in this game, and it only lasts 5 seconds, but that's not too bad because the first few bosses of the game die in about 4 shots. The only song in this game that doesn't loop to my knowledge is the title screen theme, and that only lasts for 15 seconds. And from that point on, it's just more of the same. Aside from aesthetic differences, each stage in this game plays about the same. You run left to right, dodge the never-ending flow of jet transformers that sometimes die when you shoot them, sometimes they just transform and run to the left, aggressive vertical egg, angry red burgers, and oranges? Where's all the Transformers at? The only Transformer I've seen in this is generic Jet Guy. And even then, a majority of the bosses aren't even Transformers, except for this guy, which is the first real Transformer you see. And it's everyone's favorite combiner that everyone knows, Menasor! You know, normally Menasor has, a sword? When I saw this guy, I thought it was just a Megazord, and they got the licensing wrong. Okay, actually, I did some research, and some of these generic enemies are staples of the Transformers we know and love. These jets are supposed to be Skywarp, the tanks are Blitzwing, the yellow jet is supposed to be Starscream, and this golden floor man is supposed to be Soundwave. If you don't know why that's an absolutely appalling decision, let me put it like this. Imagine if they made an Avengers game, but every generic enemy is Loki, Ultron, and Thanos, who respawned infinitely over and over and were completely miscolored. Hello there. But back on the topic of bosses, each of these guys go down in just a few shots, and they're honestly the easiest part of this game. There's 10 boss fights in total, 1 at the end of each stage. 2 are against not Unicron, 2 are against the combiners of Menasor and Bruticus. Bruticus! Oh, I missed Bruticus! Hold on, I'll explain that in just a minute. 1 is against a generic spaceship, and 3 of them are Decepticon logos. That's it, it's just a logo. Interestingly enough, the Decepticon logo was modeled after my favorite Transformers face, Soundwave, though not a perfect match, but the fact that 3 bosses were just this generic non-moving static logo. Actually, all of the bosses are just static images moving up and down, and some of them don't even move. It's obvious that almost no effort went into these boss fights, with the only fight that actually felt interesting being Megatron. I just bit my tongue. Who also just floats up and down and should be dead. And Trypticon, who to my knowledge didn't even debut in the series until after Optimus and Megatron died. Also, look at Megatron here. He's towering over Ultra Magnus. Remember that from the movie? Is Megatron just giant or is Ultra Magnus just miniature? I brought this into Photoshop and this is what I came out with. Yeah, it's just like I remembered in the movie. No wonder Galvatron easily killed this guy. D? Okay, so these letter things are pretty freaking weird, and honestly, I really don't understand them. But supposedly, in levels 1 through 9, you can collect letters that spell out Rodimus, and doing so will switch Ultra Magnus's color palette to look more like Rodimus. I did not do this, and no, I do not care enough. Even with save states, trying to beat this game alone was enough of a chore. And... oh, wait, what is happening? Wait, I'm in level 9 now? Okay, so you know what? No, that's okay. That means 1 less level to play. However, downside of this, I missed the Bruticus boss fight, but...
the hardest choices require the strongest wills.
You know, this level actually wasn't too bad. Wait, did I do something wrong? Did the warp zone lock my game? Maybe let's try it again? Okay, either my game is soft locked or there's a puzzle going on here and I'm not going to bother trying to figure this out. There it is. Okay, so apparently this is a maze. God, the Mario similarities just write themselves. Finally making it through the maze, you face off against the Decepticon Buckethead leader himself, who again, should be dead, or at least remade by Galvatron. Ah, level 10, finally. This level again? We've seen this stage twice before. The second time you're literally just playing stage 3 backwards. This stage has some of the worst blindsiding in a game I've played in years. Who okayed this? And then you fight Triptychon and boom, you're done. God, I really wish I could read. Apparently, if you wanted the good ending, you would have to beat the game as Optimus Prime, but all the good ending tells you is that Optimus will continue Ultra Magnus's investigation on Optimus Prime. Okay, so I did some research. Apparently, the Transformers the movie never released in Japan, making this game a movie tie-in exclusive to Japan for a movie that never released in that country. Supposedly, this game was done as a way to explain to the Japanese audiences why the cast of the Transformers suddenly shifted between seasons 2 and 3, since the movie wasn't really there to do the job until years later. So I guess you could say it's not a movie tie-in, but it is? At the very least, I could say that I could cross this off my bucket list. As a Transformers fan, I've always wanted to beat this game, but never did it until now. Sure, I use save states, but given how godforsakenly bad this game is, it's hard for me to recommend playing this game without save states. Like I've said, Transformers has always gotten a bad rep, and with this game, I can say that that's always been around in one way or another. Transformers is still part of the mainstream today thanks to the Michael Bay films, which aren't as bad as everyone says they are, except for 4 and 2 and maybe 5. Okay, there's really only 2 decent ones. But with the upcoming release of Bumblebee, directed by Travis Knight, hey, that's half of my name, which from the trailers alone pay tribute to the classic era of Transformers better than Michael Bay ever has, on top of the surprisingly good scores on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm really excited for the future of Transformers. Hopefully this movie can show that this franchise is so much more than just trying to sell toys. Transformers did a great job at showing we could make great cartoons out of the Transformers, the Cybertron games did a great job at showing that we can make good video games based off of these guys, and I'm hopeful that the Bumblebee movie will give us the holy trinity of unironically good Transformers media. Well, now that that's out of the way, I have one little announcement to make. Patreon! Yeah, okay, I know that I don't really have a lot of subscribers to really justify me setting up a Patreon, but I figure if I never set it up, then, you know, missed opportunity. So let's take a look at all of my supporting Patreons that helped fund this video. I'm joking, obviously. Actually, in the time that I'm setting this up, I got another one. Dan, thank you. I love you. And Locke, my first patron. I'll never let you live that down. I have to pull it up because I forgot the Patreon tiers I made. So for $1 a month, you get your name in the credits, you get to vote on what my next videos will be, and you get to stay in the loop with all of my future projects. For $5, you get access to my blooper reels, which the one for this video is up on Patreon now, and you get access to my Discord server, which you might have seen in my Smash Brothers video. I would make it $1, but I want to keep it fair to all of my Twitch subs that subscribe just to join my Discord. And then lastly, for $10, you get to see my videos 24 hours early, and you'll get my name shouted out in the credits. However, I'm going to shout out these boys now, because they're my only patrons and they pledged early. Thank you, Locke. Thank you, Dan. I love both of you. You guys are good friends. But yeah, I know that I haven't really earned the right to make a Patreon yet. This is only my 9th video. I can count that on my hands. But I'm planning on 2019 being sort of my make it or break it year, if that makes sense. Not in the sense of like, oh yeah, million subscribers. But I think that since I'm starting to take this more seriously, I want to start building out my community, you know? It's already starting to grow and I want to expand that and I want to share that with you guys. But thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I can tell that if you made it this far, then you must care about my content. And thank you for letting me pitch to you my idea for my little sellout. Thank you. I really appreciate you listening, even if you don't pledge. But I'll see you guys again next month, and I think that you might like what I have in store for next month. Oh, Merry Christmas too. Almost forgot about that. This is the Christmas episode now. Also, have you ever heard the Japanese opening for Transformers Animated? This shit fucking rocks, dude.
All I can do, and all you can do.